Sands of the Assassin, a rebellion born in blood. In a desert kingdom where the sun never sets on the suffering of its people, corruption reigns supreme. The kings, drunk on power and wealth, bleed their citizens dry with endless taxes, ruthless soldiers, and public executions for even the smallest acts of defiance. These tyrants lived in opulent palaces while the rest of the world starved beneath the burning sands. But beneath the oppressive heat, something darker was stirring. They came at night, like shadows woven into the dunes. Their blades whispered across the throats of corrupt kings and their cronies. They left no bodies for the vultures, only cryptic messages carved into palace walls. The Sands remember. These were the assassins of the Sands. The group was born in blood. When Yarrick, a blacksmith beaten nearly to death for refusing to forge weapons for the king's army, watched his wife executed for stealing bread, he vowed to dismantle the kingdom piece by piece. He sought out others who had lost everything to tyranny. Nissa, a former palace servant who poisoned an entire royal feast before vanishing into the desert. Kaleem, an ex-soldier whose family was slaughtered by the king's men, now using his military skills to turn the royals' tactics against them. Amira, a street thief with a knack for infiltration, who claimed, "A locked door is just an invitation to be creative." Together, they became a force of chaos. They didn't fight wars, they ended them before they began. When a tyrant raised taxes to fund a golden temple, the assassins slit his throat during his first prayer. When a corrupt governor hoarded grain during a famine, they burned his mansion and left him hanging from the town gate. But their boldest move came when they set their sights on the King of the Sands, ruler of the empire and architect of its misery. The king was no fool. He knew fear was his greatest weapon, and he unleashed it with merciless precision. His soldiers rounded up entire villages suspected of aiding the assassins, torching homes and hanging innocents in the town square. But with every atrocity, the assassin's legend only grew. The final showdown came under the blood-red glow of a desert eclipse. The king's fortress, an impenetrable colossus carved into the cliffs, became their battlefield. Nissa poisoned the guards' water supply. Amira scaled the walls, leaving hidden traps in her wake. Kaleem led a decoy assault at the gates, drawing the king's forces into a deadly ambush. And Yarrick, the blacksmith turned avenger, delivered the killing blow. As the king lay dying, choking on his own blood, Yarrick leaned close. "This isn't revenge," he said. "This is justice." When the sun rose the next day, the fortress was abandoned, its riches redistributed to the starving villages below. The assassins left behind a single message carved into the throne. The Sands remember. The people rise. Their fight was far from over. For every corrupt king they felled, another would rise. But the assassins were no longer just a group, they were a movement, a rebellion whispered through the streets, a nightmare for anyone who dared to oppress the weak. And as the winds of the desert carried their name, one thing became clear: the kings no longer ruled the sands. The assassins did.